Hello, this is From the Mezzanine, a film podcast. This is episode number 34, and we are Chuck and Matt, two guys with a passion for all things film and TV. We're not here to sell you meal kits, we're not here to beg for money for a Patreon page, and we don't live under the boot heels of Hollywood like so many professional critics. We're using our own time and money to watch the good, the bad, and the mediocre. Then we're hand-delivering you our consensus on what to watch and what to skip. Chuck?
There's an awful lot that we skip, just flat out. But if it's worth talking about, we'll talk about it, even if it does suck. But we generally try and steer people towards things that are worth their time. Because otherwise, what the fuck are we doing here, Why are we alive if we're just gonna watch tripe or just run shit in the background? Cinema is not meant to just be your background noise, god damn it, so don't treat it so shabbily. But yeah, we have something to discuss right up front. Yeah, I am wearing, an undershirt. It's 100 fucking degrees out, almost, in Minot, North Dakota. I don't know what it is in Minneapolis, but Matt is dealing with blackouts. Rolling blackouts across the Midwest. It's real. It's striking here first. You heard it here first. Not on Fox News or CNN. We're directly, on the ground. We got boots on the ground dealing with it. But last week, of course, we covered Crimes of the Future. And what happened to it, Matt? What happened to our episode number 33?
Yeah, so a couple days ago, you just kind of had texted me and informed me that our episode had been taken down. And we got our first ever big boy copyright takedown. So
big scary copyright strike.
Yeah. So people don't know, if you get 3 of these, I think in a 3-month time frame, they'll just flat out delete your channel and delete everything associated with it. And so the deal with this one was our episode had been claimed by a really weird Russian company that there's kind of a rabbit hole to go down about, but I guess from what I understood, they represented one of the 7 production houses that put money into Crimes of the Future, and they're responsible for the releasing of the movie in Russia and the Baltics and stuff like that.
Okay.
So that's what I got on my end, but then you sent me some other stuff too about another thing. What was that? Some guy.
Yeah, because if you looked, I'll pull that up, Nag. I think I have that on the next slide. I'm just getting our music situation figured out. Bear with me here. So
yeah,
if we pull up, that's his fucking email address, maxim.isoladynamics@gmail. And I did do some digging into Isola, and essentially they are a copyright, trademark, protection management firm. So other companies hire them to look for shit to strike, basically. And so this Russian company, the production company, the financiers, who threw I don't even know how many rubles at this. It's I don't know what they paid for, whether it was if they paid for the child autopsy sequence, I appreciate their money. But I think they just basically covered catering costs, and for that, they have the right to completely just take our video down. Typically, if you have a soft copyright claim, we are able to edit, and cover up the thing that is the problem. But when you get a big boy strike, you have the video's just gone. You have no access to it whatsoever. You can't just fix it. It's just deemed unclean and is purged from the YouTube ecosystem. So I had to spend some time converting it so that I could edit it, because I will be doing a rebroadcast of it, either tonight or tomorrow, so that we can at least not have it be a lost episode, because it was a pretty good one all the way around. Not even considering, because we spent more time talking about other things than we did Crimes of the Future, but they all get to go by the wayside. So you live, you learn, you roll with the punches, but it just makes one wonder, how the hell does anybody else get away with this shit? Like,
yeah, I mean, it almost seems random. It almost seems like some people get it, some people don't. Yeah. And it's weird because this system is so skewed in favor of copyright holders that they can like do whatever they want basically, and regardless of whether or not it falls under fair use, which our video clearly does, because we are giving commentary over a video with no sound that's like the size of a thumbnail that is part of promotional material that the fucking company, released as promotional material for the movie. Exactly. So it's like, what do you want? And if you are going to go after people like us, what do you hope to accomplish? Because there are no doubt places on the internet right now where you can watch Crimes of the Future in its entirety, and it's being downloaded and watched thousands of times a day, and there's nothing that you can do about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You have no control over that. So I don't know if this is like some weird power trip or something.
It might be, because you had brought up that, there's all these sanctions happening to Russian companies, so they're just desperate for any cash that they can lay claim to, I'm guessing. But this is our fair use disclaimer. Like fuck off, Maxim. Whoever the fuck you are. I emailed him, very kindly, asked that he, let us, free from his clutches. Let our video go, we're not stealing rubles out of, his children's mouths or anything like that. So, he hasn't replied, obviously. I doubt he speaks English. You know what I mean? So, that's what happened with that. It's very unfortunate, but it is what it is. And we will just move on with our lives, and I will just put a black box over the trailer for like the 2 minutes that we ran it. Otherwise, I just used images that it's very nebulous who owns the copyright to those, but they specifically claimed video, which tells us it's the trailer. And that's our primer. We make it very clear that this is fair use. This is just for critique and editorial commentary purposes. This is for your education, your edification. We are directing people to your content for, either because it's really good and worth their time, or because it's terrible and therefore still worth their time, just for mockery purposes. But either way, making money. One way or the other. Getting people hyped for when it's on streaming so that you're getting eyeballs on it. It is what it is. But, it is... That's all I really have to say about that. It's unfortunate, but...
Yeah, same.
Again, now we're real. Now we're a real channel, I guess. Last week, you had brought up, for the parting question, whether, being in an altered state, under the influence... what does it does it detract more from the experience, or does it add to it? And I feel like that is I'm going to answer this question very differently than I would 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, popping a brownie and drinking a flask of whiskey before going to see Thor: The Dark World was probably the only way I could have enjoyed that movie. But now I'm not so sure. Even though I've used MacGuffins on the last couple times I've gone to a theater here at the AMC, and I'm just not sure how worth it is if I can't just keep on hitting them back. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say at this point in my life, it actually would take me out of it. It would distract me, or it would make me miss something. I'm not as sharp as a viewer when I'm, at diminished capacity, and. So, and honestly, I don't think I could endorse it for myself, going forward. For the right kind of movie, with the right kind of people, absolutely, being a little tipsy would make the whole experience fun. But I just don't get as much out of being in an altered state when I watch something. Unless it is, meant to be viewed that way. There are some movies that you should be, off your gourd for, because otherwise... you will have a bad time. You will have a good time with something, if you're high, or if you're drunk, or if you're, on acid, for depending on who you are. what was your thoughts?
Yeah, so I was kind of in the same boat as you, and I, 10 years ago, I was too a 21-year-old shitlord once upon a time, and I totally like partook in, little cruises before heading to the movie theater, and it all depends on what movie you're going to, and there's movies where it was like, absolutely required almost. Like I still remember going to the opening night of Pineapple Express.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And
sorry, I got Hank underneath me.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. And the theater it smelled like the designated reggae stage at a music festival, basically, and it was
on the left hand side. Yeah. I'm surprised people weren't just sending a blunt through the theater.
In the theater, yeah.
That kind of movie.
Somewhere in the U.S. that happened, I'm sure, but
absolutely,
yeah, it was just nuts at that, and then there are like other times when it's just like completely doesn't work. Like I still remember going to, you remember that Liam Neeson movie, The Grey?
Fuck yeah, dude, wolf movie. Yeah, punches wolves in the face with like glass fists.
Yeah, like he breaks little shooter bottles, like airplane shooter bottles of alcohol. And I did it for that movie, and it was a horrible experience because number one, that movie is so depressing, and number two, right in the middle of that movie, two cops came into the theater, and with their flashlights out and started shining them up at the audience.
What the fuck?
It was so, and then they were like doing that for probably 2 or 3 minutes, and then they found a guy there sitting by himself, and they grabbed him and took him out of the theater, and I never saw him or them again. Was so scary.
That's great, because how do you know they were really cops? It
was nuts.
You might have just seen like a government like black bag abduction for all you know.
Yeah.
God,
it was nuts though, and it was so like paranoia and just like crazy scary, but. Yeah, I mean that's kind of where I stand on it too. I'm pretty similar to you. I really don't anymore like watch movies drunk or anything like that because I feel like I can't pay attention as well, and I have like less ability to like look at everything at one time. I'm just like I zone out a lot when I'm drinking and watching movies at the same time, and I think the last time I did it actually was when I went to Inherent Vice in the theaters.
Oh yeah, okay.
And that made that movie feel like it was like 3 hours long.
God, see, I was at my peak internet pirate stage when that movie came out. I lived with Steve Banyai, and he would just download shit without thinking about it. And that when I saw that movie for the first time, I was so high that I didn't even realize what I was watching halfway through. Like where you're like, you forget where you are, and you're like, wait a minute, what even the fuck is this? And you have to remind yourself. Like, I have watched that movie so many times in every kind of altered state, but even sober, you feel high watching that movie because of what that movie is and what it's like. But it's probably not a good look to like spill your flask all over yourself before you walk into a theater. And I did that before I saw Thor. I just smelled like whiskey. I don't know why they sold me a ticket, but I got in, and proceeded to just pour like bourbon into Mountain Dew for I think you and Eric that for that.
Yeah, that was in Fargo. So
it was.
I mean that's par for the course on a Friday night in Fargo. So
exactly.
Nobody cares.
But if you still want to do that, more power to you. Just don't get so fucked up that you have a bad time and make everyone else's time worse. Or get arrested by the Fargo Police Department. And moving on. That was a good one. A lot of good memories attached with being trashed and going to movies, but I'm unable to do that anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, same.
Hey, Hank! What are you doing? He's chewing on my Ethernet cable. Hang on, I gotta do something about this.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll introduce the next thing. So next we're going to talk about, in the news segment, a little bit about the Ezra Miller story, which has been evolving very, very rapidly. And first of all, I'll direct everyone to a video that Chuck put out yesterday about this whole saga. So stop this video, go watch that. Yeah. Oh, that's okay.
Sorry for the back sweat.
That. That's okay. Go watch that, and then come back to this video and keep watching this, because that'll give you all the background that you need. So
yeah, the update to the story is that he has been fired. He is no longer going to be the Flash after the Flash comes out. How long have we been waiting for that fucking movie to come out? How many years now?
Like, yeah, I mean, it's been done for, I think, like at least 2 years.
That's now. Disgusting. Yeah. And they can't even blame COVID for holding it back. Like, they were slow rolling this fucking movie when COVID was like 2 years away. Like, that's how long we've been waiting for this fucking thing. So they pulled the plug on it. They because I did have some thoughts like, what are they gonna do? They've really been avoiding, dealing with this question. How are we going to resolve this problem that is the actor named Ezra Miller? And the answer is, we're just not fucking dealing with this. We're gonna Johnny Depp it. And if he wants to, take this family to court, to take the Iron Eyes to court to deal with this, then that's his prerogative. But no more are we gonna have to wonder, if Warner Brothers is gonna be in the Ezra Miller business. They just aren't, and it's probably for the better. I'm grateful, because now there's gonna be less reason to talk about the fucking guy. Because there's
so annoying.
Because there's another grooming situation, or not even grooming, because he's such a weird fucking dude. He had this weird vendetta with what he claimed to be the KKK of Idaho or something. So because he's feuding with the KKK, according to him, he's strapped at all times. And there's another mother with an actual 12-year-old, current 12-year-old, has filed some kind of order of protection against him because they were just at a friend's house. Ezra Miller was there, and he was just like, "Oh, is you gonna have you're gonna have a problem or something?" He just starts flashing his gun at this mom and her child. So it's this guy. I can't wait for the Netflix, recreation of this, or the surviving Ezra, the possibilities are endless. Hope everybody.
It's very. I mean, at this point, even before he was actually fired, I was kind of gonna come at this and say that it would be incredibly easy to do so, because with this Flash movie, they're going hard on the multiverse, and it would be so easy to replace him with another Flash like Jay Garrick or Wally West. Incredibly easy, because they're going to be doing all this multiverse hopping, and they're going to be going into the Tim Burton universe and see Michael Keaton's Batman, and so it's just, it'll be incredibly easy to replace him. And I wonder if they'll film some pickups for the Flash movie with his replacement, whoever that person is. I could totally see them doing that as an after credit scene or something like that.
That would be so fucking boss. Warner Brothers knew, the guy running that show, Zaslav, he is a fucking G. I've been wanting to talk about him for a while, honestly, but it just, I don't know. It just hasn't been juicy enough, but he is just clear in house. He is not fucking around. He's... If he identifies something he doesn't like or thinks is gonna, there's something that he would have done had he been in charge, it's gone. He is the reason why CNN Plus was set up to fail. He put them on the team. He was just like, okay, guys, go for it, and then he just Lucy'd them, Charlie Brown Lucy'd him with the football, and just said, fuck you, get out of here, and then he still they fucked up and did you hear about how they sent CNN Plus employees welcome baskets?
No.
After they were fired, that's how quick the shutdown of that whole operation was, and that would be a boss move. Just be like, okay, we fired him. Let's Doctor Who this shit. Let's get the new Doctor just lined up. Let's just make it happen without him. We have enough CG footage to fake his existence at this point. Enough facial scans to have fake Ezra running around, fake Flash. What's stopping them from just being like, Grant Gustin, we already have you signed up.
Yeah.
You're already in the suit. And they just make him the movie. I would not be mad about that. That makes a hell of a lot of sense to me, anyway.
Yeah, I could see that. I could totally see them doing that. And I believe they are still releasing the movie, though, correct?
Yes.
As far as we know, they're still releasing the Flash movie. Okay.
It might come out till 2024, but it's coming.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be so easy to get rid of them. And the big question, I guess, with all of this is does this finally spell the end for the Snyderverse? Because we got Ezra Miller down, Ben Affleck down, we got Amber Heard down, who's a big part of Aquaman, and then I guess Gal Gadot and Jason Momoa are really the only ones left.
They're the only ones standing, and you can't build a profitable superhero multi-franchise, mega franchise thing. Mm-hmm. You can't build a tent with two poles, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No.
Yeah, and that's all.
Especially those two poles in particular, like Wonder Woman and Aquaman. Like, how shitty would that be if that was their universe going forward? But
because looking back on it, remember in Peacemaker, Flash and Miller and Momoa were the only ones that they actually had in that, right? Otherwise, they faked Superman and Wonder Woman. Mm-hmm. And Batman.
Yeah, they did the same thing at the end of. Do you ever see Shazam?
Never saw Shazam.
Okay, they did the exact same thing at the end of Shazam, where Henry Cavill's Superman showed up, but they filmed him from the neck down, so it was just like a body double.
Fuck off! Give me the real McCoy, or don't even bother. All this bullshit. Well, but I do think this does spell the end for them. The between Joker and the Batman, the only two characters that Warner Brothers hasn't fucked up yet. The non-shared universe approach seems to have viability, especially since not everybody is a Marvel fan, or is kind of at the point where they're like, I can't follow two universes. It's kind of like being you not everyone can be Eric Bradshaw with a poll list that is a mile long and encompasses both companies completely, every single Wednesday. And I think that's the brain capacity of the average, viewer for these kinds of things. They don't have the wherewithal to actually power through all that fucking content and retain it and know it. So that has been the problem for DC, is that they didn't get into the mindscape as soon enough. They were still playing with Christopher Nolan when Avengers came out, for crying out loud, and they were they were still dinking around in the Atlantic when Marvel was colonizing the New World, and there's just no room left, basically. So it serves them better to just be like, hey, make standalone films, just break it up, bifurcate, shatter the Snyderverse to such an extent that these characters can't touch each other anymore, and have them just be themselves. And if you find a way to bring them all back together again, God bless you. But they don't have the right person to do that yet. And I don't know if David Zaslav is interested in that for Warner Brothers at this point. I think he sees the writing on the wall too. And it's just like, why do I fucking care about committing untold billions of dollars behind decades of planning, the Marvel method, when I can just have, who's the director of Joker again? What's his fucking name?
Todd Phillips.
I knew it was Phillips. Yep. I was gonna say Mike, but I knew Mike wasn't right. We're gonna give Todd Phillips $40 million, and he'll make us $1 billion. That's what we're gonna do. And speaking of, Mr. Todd Phillips and Joker, we have the announcement, major casting. Lady Gaga's going for her Best Actress Oscar. She's gonna be Harley Quinn in Joker. folie à deux, which, if you don't speak French, means folly for two. You know, which is an actual, like, phenomenon in mental psychosis. That,
yeah,
you know,
like shared madness. I think is like
shared madness. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some fascinating examples of it in the world. How they're going to make this work, I have no fucking clue. Because Joaquin Phoenix's Joker is like the most uncomfortably repellent version of the character in cinema, I would say. Even more than... Because I could buy like Jared Leto's fuckboy Joker and Margot Robbie's like Harley Quinn being together. They exemplified just trashy Joker couple, you know, like for all time, and all like people who identify with them are like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like strip club Joker and Harley.
Exactly.
Like nightclub Joker and Harley, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious what exactly this is gonna be like. Like, it's such a strange and, like, you know, direction to take, but what's funny is that the YouTuber Low Res Wonder Bread, I don't know if you're familiar with him at all. He's just a shitlord memer type, and that motherfucker called it. Or at least he was, because like when Joker came out, he was like, "Hey, make the sequel a musical. It'll be amazing." And sure enough, they listened to him. So he gets to take all the credit for that. But do we really think that this is gonna work?
I don't think so. No, I think this is a stunt, like just a pure, unadulterated, shameless stunt. And Todd Phillips, I don't know. Todd Phillips strikes me as like one of those directors that like thinks he's batting way, way above what he actually is, like his batting average actually is. And he's part of this like new school of comedy directors who think that they have to like branch out into dramatic movies, like Adam McKay and like Judd Apatow and stuff. And I don't understand what it is with these like modern day comedy directors, but they feel like they need to be something more. The comedy is, you know, no longer for them, and you know they must do their dramatic stuff. And yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me. I think he's like too much of a like dude bro, like philosophy 101, like shallow, I don't know, guy, I guess.
Yeah,
but
because like he did the Hangover trilogy, and what else? What else is he really known for? Todd Phillips.
I think that's it. I think he literally went from the Hangover trilogy to Joker.
Which is fucking mind-boggling, because I never saw the third one, but those first two Hangover movies, yeah, there's nothing to them. They I don't know. They are shocking, but I don't even know how funny they actually are in retrospect. So
yeah. Oh, the only other movie he did was War Dogs. Do you remember War Dogs? That Jonah Hill, Miles Teller movie where they're like weapons dealers.
Yeah. Movie sucked. The article it's based on, awesome. You know, it's one of those situations where the true story is infinitely more entertaining than whatever fucking movie he made. Unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But yeah, goddamn, I forgot about that fucking movie.
Yeah, me too.
Because that movie, the real life guys literally just did volcano, like, you know, weed hits where you just fill up a bag of vaped weed, and then they'd be like, okay, time to buy like a few million rounds of ammunition, and that's the former Yugoslavia, and then we'll flip it to Iraq. You know, that's literally all those guys were doing. You know, they were just sitting in their homes, high as shit, and then just like convincing warlords in other countries that they were legit, and even getting the Pentagon in on it. So I had I tried watching Vice, the Adam McKay Dick Cheney movie, and that movie genuinely has some funny moments, but whenever he's trying to be seriously political, it's just like they step on the rake, and there's just a rake hitting their face every 15 minutes. And this whole fucking musical Joker movie is a giant fucking rake, and I don't think they realize it. Like, this could be really bad. Can Joaquin Phoenix sing?
Yes, he can. I was actually going to bring that up because I was going to say, like, getting to the actual acting part of it. Joaquin Phoenix can sing, and we know that because of the Johnny Cash movie he did. He did all of his own singing.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah, he did all his own singing in that way back when. And then Lady Gaga, like, I mean, obviously she can sing, but I just don't see her in this universe. I mean, I'm on record with my thoughts about her actual acting. Like, I think she's a really bad actress, but I don't see her in, like, this disgusting, like, 1980s New York, like, garbage strike version of Gotham City that was in Joker.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't fit with what Lady Gaga is and, like, what she represents, her sort of, like,
and that's
like, superstar persona.
And that's why I tried to find the grossest picture of her I could find. So I went with that one because it made the most sense, because I was like, whatever Harley Quinn looks like in this universe is probably going to be really gross. At least she should be gross. Like, they can't just Margot Robbie her and just have her be a sex pot from the word go. So, yeah, it'll be interesting, but I don't anticipate billion-dollar success. You can't capture that lightning every fucking time when you're basically making really... I don't know. I don't know how much mass appeal Joker really should have had, but it caught a nerve in the zeitgeist in a way that is, like, they did not... I guess what I'm trying to say is they did not know what they had when they had it. The society made it the success it was. I hate to use that word. But yeah, if I had to bet money, I don't think they will succeed in what they're trying to do.
Yeah, me neither. And that the first Joker had the benefit of having a really, really good trailer. I don't know if you remember that, but it was one of those movies where the trailer really, really sold it. Kind of like Social Network, where people were on the inside and, like, kind of with their conversations between their friends, they would say, like, oh, The Social Network, a Facebook movie. But then when you saw that trailer, you were like, that looks fucking awesome. And that was the same thing with Joker. People were like, behind the scenes, they were going like, oh, like, do we really need a Joker movie about the Joker? Like, and then you went to the movies and you saw that trailer on the big screen and everybody was like, holy shit, I'm sold,
It should be interesting, because who knows, like we may get a trailer for this where we actually get to hear the insanity, that is this musical Joker film. Whatever, because, like, Lady Gaga, like, yeah, she won her Oscar for A Star Is Born. Good for her. But the music in that movie is not at all that fucking memorable. Like, people played Shallow until my ears bled for a few years, but I don't hear a single fucking person talking about her Top Gun song.
No, that one just went completely over everyone's head.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, we'll just move on. We'll just transition immediately to Summer Movie Wager, because that movie, Top Gun, has claimed the top spot. Like, the box office numbers are a lot higher domestically than we expected, I must say, for the movies that are actually raking in the money. But yeah, the Summer Movie Wager, we'll just do a quick check-in here. And the movies that have been released so far, as soon as this video gets caught up to it, there we go. Doctor Strange, Jurassic World Dominion, Top Gun Maverick, Lightyear, Downton Abbey, and Bob's Burgers were the ones that we had as on our list there. And they're all doing pretty good for the most part. I don't expect any of those dark horses to linger. But right now, you are 1,205th in the world, and I am 1,708th. And we're only 2 points apart, because that's just how early we are in this thing.
Yeah, there's like 600 people that share our point totals, like, with those exact. So it's like 600 people are tied for whatever place that is. So,
but everyone is getting their shit fucked up by Maverick, though. I don't even know if the major, did any of the major critics pick it that highly?
No. The guy, there was a couple people. I was looking at like the leaderboards earlier today, and the guy who's number one right now out of everybody has 45 points, and he's one of the few people who picked Top Gun Maverick as his number one.
So he's gonna win.
Easily.
Because like, who could unseat him at this point? Is Jurassic World doing okay? Like, if it has enough time to work it before they dump it on whatever streaming platform they're going to dump it on, because I feel like Doctor Strange is going to be hurt by being on Disney Plus so soon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Jurassic World's doing pretty good. It's actually, the weird thing about it is, even though Lightyear opened up this week, it's actually expected to come in second place in its first week to Jurassic World. Jurassic World's supposed to get number one again this week.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm going to lose this, because I was like, fucking people are going to love this. But this is my comment about why I was wrong, why I was short-sighted. I should have taken in everything that was happening in the world, everything that was going on, but it ventures into the realm of politics, because Disney is a fucking bitch and can't help but dip its toes in there. And you had that whole kerfuffle with the state of Florida, and them bowing to the boot heel of Ron DeSantis, the governor of that state, who's decided that you can't expose certain things in the classroom to people of a certain age. I'm just going to leave it at that. Mm-hmm. But it is related to what would be, by more parochial minds, alternative lifestyles. But that, Disney and other, vast segments of the culture at large want to normalize, and, make a more accepted part of it. And with Lightyear, this has nothing to do with domestic box office, but it is a global concern, questions about quote unquote grooming, and like in some countries, and even in some states in this country, in the United States, you get warning messages if content contains quote unquote gay shit. You know what I mean? And what they did, Disney, with Lightyear, was they put the same sex, they had two women kiss in a very chaste way. Like, this is about love, this is about relationships. And they did that in Star Wars, and they kept it out of the cut for regions that didn't like it. That kind of thing. They don't want to see women kissing for some reason. I don't know why. Women kissing is awesome to me personally. But in this kids movie, this family movie, this thing that I thought would, the Pixar magic would just bring people in, I forgot how much Disney alienated people who have kids. Because a lot of those people who are pumping out kids are usually a little religious and not so inclined to what they view as alternative lifestyles. And there's a lot of people just flat out not supporting anything Disney for that reason. And I think that is going to hurt that movie in the long run. Because while they did, just not put their movie in 14 territories by standing by their principles, they also are dealing with the effects at home of alienating giant swaths of their audience by committing to messaging. And I guess that's all I have to say about that. I'm going to lose because I had too much faith in the power of Pixar. Because a lot of other critics have kind of said, I haven't seen this movie yet, but the critics are kind of saying that this movie doesn't quite hit the feels button as we are used to, which I think is just the problem with the company in general these days. And but that's a larger conversation for another day.
Yeah, and then there's also the fact that people got used to seeing Pixar movies at home.
Also
and
that.
I think there's like people that associate Pixar now with being able to watch a movie on Disney Plus, and they don't want to have to go out and pay for it. So I think that's kind of a little bit of a psychological thing with that. But yeah, I mean, it. Other than that, I was kind of looking at it, and I mean, obviously the Top Gun thing is the biggest loser for everyone. But then I mean, I don't really have any wins per se. I guess I was correct in putting Doctor Strange as high as I did because it's probably going to still
Do well.
end up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still going to do well. It might end up at number 3-ish now. Depends on how well Thor does when that comes out. But yeah, this puts us at about halfway with the number of movies that have come out. So we still have about half the movies still to release. And so technically it still is anybody's game if Nope ends up being a huge hit, or Thor. I mean, for that matter, Thor could be huge. I don't know, people could be underestimating the power of Taika Waititi and Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, Christian Bale, so
that's me. I was the one poo-pooing them, saying that they couldn't do it. They didn't have the power to hack it. Mm-hmm. And I put all my fucking faith behind fucking Lightyear and the really bad dinosaur movie. So I have regrets, I guess, at the halfway mark as far as the summer movie wager is concerned. But I am happy for Tom Cruise. I am. Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I really believe that he is the Solid Snake of Hollywood, and that's how I'm always going to think of him now. Is that he should have been Solid Snake in the 90s. But, because, Mission Impossible came out like in 95, I think. And Metal Gear Solid came out in 96. So, things just didn't line up correctly in the scheme of things. But somewhere, in some universe, that franchise was his thing. Because that is all this fucking guy cares about. Like, he would have been shot out of a submarine holding on to like a torpedo glider thing, like himself personally, to for the Metal Gear Solid movie that would have been made. But I'm really looking forward to Mission Impossible whenever that movie fucking comes out.
Yeah, me too.
Holy cow, that trailer fucking blew my mind, and we were gonna talk about that in more detail at a previous episode, but shit got too crazy there. But check that trailer out if you got a chance. We are too gun shy to use trailers going forward, so I am just going to be throwing up, pictures. But we're going to move on to the streaming portion of our show. I got to actually see Duel. What's the director's name? I can't remember his name.
Oh, Riley Stearns.
Riley Stearns, my boy.
Yeah.
Director of Faults, The Art of Self-Defense, and his latest film that you talked about, because you saw it when you covered Sundance.
Yeah.
And for those who don't remember or are unaware, this is a movie about a soft science fiction setting in some future where if you are dying of something terminal, you can have a clone made of you and then teach that clone how to be you to replace you so that your loved ones can grieve easier. And what's her name? Karen Gillan is a kind of awkward woman who isn't quite happy with her life, but finds out she has like a brain cancer or something. They're very vague about what kind of cancer she has, but she's gonna die. There's no question about it. So she has a double of hers made, and then finds out that she's gonna live. Actually, she's in remission instead of being dead. So she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna have my life still. But in this future, doubles have laws, and these clones have the right to fight you to the death to determine who gets to, have the life, basically. And it's like broadcast on TV. Like, this is a very dystopian fucking society. But it is also just it's a very goofy movie when you get down to it. And the characters are all very strange. And the ending, I almost feel it was a cop-out, but at the same time, it was rather brilliant. But well worth your time to watch it. Matt spent more time talking about it. I don't want to spoil anything, but I was really quite taken with just how simple it was. And like it. This is the year of very satisfying, light sci-fi, like soft sci-fi, I guess if we're going to call it anything.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And this is a part of the canon of 2022 sci-fi renaissance.
Yeah, and this is very much, I feel like I can see Riley Stearns like evolving almost with each movie that he makes, and this felt very much to me like a sort of Yorgos Lanthimos light, sort of, but not in a bad way, not in like a pejorative way, but that it kind of reminded me of that, like just with like the way that people talked and this sort of
people talked so weird.
Yeah,
everyone had this like stilted way of talking. It was so I was made so uncomfortable by it. Is that deliberate? Like, is this like a social media thing? I don't know. Like, I didn't really know what to make of it.
I think so. Yeah, I think that was the idea behind it, was that, everybody in this future, everybody is sort of, everyone's awkward, basically. Everyone's socially awkward. So, because of the advancements in computers and phones and online communication, that was kind of what I took from it. But, I think in Yorgos Lanthimos movies, it's more of a stylistic choice.
Yeah,
but I think there's an actual reasoning behind this one. But.
And I guess, and Aaron Paul is in this. He doesn't really do much, but he's very capable. But I really did like the dual performance from Karen Gillan. They both were kind of distinct, both versions of her character, and the ending almost got me. I don't want to spoil it, but it is kind of like a rug pull. For what your expectations might be. So be ready to maybe not get everything that you think you're going to get. It's a very economical film in that regard, but to be recommended. I enjoyed it. I didn't realize the next film was on Apple TV Plus, but as soon as I saw the updated document signaling that you had seen it, I watched it, right? As I was working on the graphics today. Cha-cha, real smooth, Sundance hit. From the same Sundance festival that you previewed for us. You didn't watch this movie though. Correct?
No, I didn't see it then. I watched this literally like 2 nights ago. On Apple TV.
But this movie was the big breakout. It made the most money. Apple bought it. Like how much was it again? Like, was it $30 million?
It was a lot, yeah. It had broken the record, I think, yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that goes to our boy Cooper Raiff, doesn't it? As like the director of the film? Yeah. Yeah,
writer, director, star, so I'd assume he gets a majority of that money.
Where did this dude come from?
I don't know. I think he has like one other movie that he also starred in. So he's kind of like one of those really hands-on guys, and I think he's pretty good too, as far as his acting goes. And I guess to get into it, this is a movie about an events facilitator, I guess is what you'd call him. He's basically
party starter. Come on, kids.
He goes to bar mitzvahs and makes sure that people are dancing and having a good time, basically. And and he meets Dakota Johnson's character, who is a mom with a autistic child, and he kind of takes a liking to them, and he's kind of the only person who can sort of form a bond with this autistic girl, and so he kind of becomes her babysitter, sort of.
Basically,
yeah. But I guess this movie, if I were to sum it up, I would say it's kind of about meeting a person who could be your soulmate, but when you're both at different points in your life, where it's not good for either one of you. So like you meet this person and you really are, getting along with them and vibing with them, but you're just at completely different parts of your life. So you kind of have to like let things just go, basically. And I think that's a really interesting idea. And I thought he explored that really, really well. And what about you?
No, I think you nailed it. Like while I was watching this movie, it just kind of occurred to me, this is one of those movies they don't make anymore. You know what I mean? Where it's this, it's light fare, and it's literally just, it just goes from, bar mitzvah to bat mitzvah to, okay, now we're hanging out at home, looking at potato mashers, that this autistic girl's collected, or having, really well executed sexual tension with the mom, while you're both sucking on Otter Pops, talking about life and everything. But it has a maturity that most kind of indie style movies like this in the past has never had. The conclusion to this I found very satisfying, for the kind of movie that it was. Mm-hmm. And the journey, the transformation, that both that he more so goes on, but how he, pulls the girl out of her shell, and these two people, they, like you say, they're vibing and they're both really drawn to each other, but the reality is that they're just going to spin out of each other's orbit in the directions that they need to go. It's one of those movies. It kind of reminded me of La La Land in that respect,
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and his character, he's such a weird character in this movie. The character Cooper Raiff plays, and it could have been so easily annoying. Like, he could have been annoying, and you get the sense that because Cooper Raiff portrayed this character, he made it exactly how he wanted. Like, the mannerisms, the tics, the body language. And I think that was a good choice, because I don't think that him casting an actor as that character and then trying to get across what he wanted would have worked. Mm-hmm. Because it's so specific what he's doing in this movie that I don't think just telling somebody like, hey, I want you to do this and do this and do this, it wouldn't have worked, because it's such a weird character. But,
yeah, you can definitely tell he's internalized a great deal of what he wrote, and it's kind of, and with one-man band directors like this, it makes sense. But at the same time, he has a human quality. Like, it's a genuine person, that he is portraying. We talked a little bit, I think it was last week, about I can't believe I'm blanking on this fucking guy's name. The Primer Upstream Color dude. What's his name?
Shane Carruth.
Shane Carruth. Because his characters are they're just these, they're like statues. But this is you could really see the blood pumping in this dude's veins, and even when he wasn't saying anything, you could kind of tell what's going on in his face, in his mind, just because of how his face breaks, when mm-hmm. he encounters certain situations. So very subtle and effective all the way through. But I guess I might have had to walk out of the room whenever did they ever play Cha Cha Real Smooth?
Yeah, or part of it. Yeah, there was a part where they cut to it at one of the bar mitzvahs, okay. But it was literally for 10 seconds.
Bullshit. I wanted a full-on cha-cha sequence. That's all I wanted. Take me back to my 8th grade dance era. Yeah. But yeah. Didn't really know what to make of this. Sorry. Yeah, you go. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, yeah, really good. I would recommend it overall. I don't know if there's nothing specifically I can point to that I didn't like about it, but if anything, it's a little slight, I guess. Don't expect going to this or watching this and then having some life-altering revelation or anything like that.
This movie's not going to win an Oscar for Apple. Why are they spending $30 million on it?
Yeah, no idea. Yeah, that's really, really boggles the mind, and I'm sure they just wish that this would become the next Ted Lasso, but in movie form, basically, or something like that.
Because it is slightly uplifting. It's just about some aimless 20-something, growing up, basically. It's one of those movies. Mm-hmm. There was one moment I want to highlight, though. There's this really kind of emotional climax that happens near the end of the movie, and Dakota Johnson's husband's that character finds him in his car, and he's just like, hey buddy, I know this thing just happened, but I want you to understand that I appreciate the good you were trying to do and whatever, but and I don't hate you, it's you're a good person. No matter like how shitty you feel right now, it's like, don't beat yourself up, basically. And it was just it was an unexpected thing to happen from a character like that, just because of the opposite kind of tension that they were having. Like the animosity. Like you almost think that like a parking lot fight would normally happen, but instead a different kind of interaction occurred, and that was a surprising choice.
Yeah, that was good. That you're good to point that out, because it was very subversive. Because in any other movie like this, how that scene would have gone is he would have ran up to the car and been like, "Stay the fuck away from my wife, motherfucker!"
Yeah, instead it was, "I appreciate what you've done," because he could recognize the good for both his fiance and her daughter that this dude was bringing out of him. But yeah, it just can't go on. You got to move on. And speaking of moving on, For All Mankind is another Apple TV product that I'd missed out on. You put it on your best of last year list. And I caught up on 2 seasons of this show because the 3rd season began today. And I just kind of want to go on a little monologue here. This is such a boomer fucking show. But, because all of the melodrama that goes on in it is so, like, even when people are, like, fucking around on each other, it's so chaste. You never actually see anything raunchy. Characters will, like, make out and be like, "Go lock the door." And then they'll, like, go, like, look at themselves in a mirror. Hard cut, post-coitus, smoking cigarettes. Like, they give us none of the goods. This is not an HBO sexposition show. This is about fucking space, motherfuckers. It's like the right stuff taken to its fullest potential. It's that kind of... all the space stuff going on in this is spectacular. Every single time you're seeing a moon lander, like, gliding fucking over the lunar surface, like, my jaw just drops. Like, the quality of the special effects and the production design is so good. That first season is... and that's the thing, each season is really distinct. The first season has the right stuff, Apollo 13 kind of vibes. And, this, season 2 is, the escalation of that. Like, and the 3rd season, though, very much is where this becomes a science fiction show. But the undercurrent behind all of the cultural commentary going on is, how could we have the perfect egalitarian utopia? Well, it's only possible if America doesn't land on the moon first. And instead becomes really committed to building the most perfect progressive world possible. To such an extent that a closeted lesbian can team up with a Pat Robertson-style conservative Republican and have that, to run for president in the 90s and say, "There's just too many people like me looking like me. We need more people like you running this country." Like, that's the undercurrents of this show. It's the politics of, progressive liberals co-opting the space race, wokeifying the world of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, but honestly not pissing me off while they do it, which is shocking. But I can't believe I put this show off. It's really fucking good. All the way around. Yeah, it's so fucking good.
Yeah, it is. It's great. It's so are you like fully caught up now?
All the way to the hills. Yeah. Absolutely.
Sweet. Yeah, because oh man, see, I think the show gets better too. That's the thing.
Absolutely.
I think season one is good, but then season 2 is amazing. And so far, I've really liked what they're doing in this 3rd season with the sort of like where they've split the characters into basically 2 different factions, and now they're gonna race to Mars. Basically,
it's so fucking good. They did it so well, because that first episode is the Poseidon adventure in space. Like, I don't know who directed the first episode of season 3. I didn't pay attention, but they fucking killed it. Give them a fucking Emmy. Like, they deserve, like, they should put that in fucking theaters on IMAX. Like, this, I don't know, like, they're spending their money really well. It very rarely feels cheap, except for the fact that they reuse sets like they're going out of style. The outpost, they're just like, we got to keep getting money out of that outpost set. The bar that they keep going to and then gets franchised, they just keep on going back to the outpost. But I do love, it's an alternate history show, so they do really cool things in the background with like texturizing. Oh, John Lennon never died. What other weird things happened? George H.W. Bush never becomes president. Gary Hart gets to be president. You know, that's what I mean. Like, this is everything that progressive liberals wish would have happened. From the Equal Rights Amendment to, like, who gets to, like, the in this universe, they are even more woke than we are today. Yeah, in terms of, like, people, like, who has
in
jobs.
The 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s.
They're only in the 90s.
they have flat-screen television technology in the 90s. That's insane. I was, like, still watching cathode ray tubes, but in this universe, Apple basically has created iPhones in the early 90s. It's 1992, and you have iPhones. You have little PDAs with front-facing cameras that are ubiquitous with the old-school Mac logo on them. You know, which is, like, why? I don't know. I just loved that because was just reminded, oh, yeah, this is an Apple show. This is an Apple product. They should sell those things. I would buy one. Retro tech made for today, you know? But
yeah, and like the little, like, PDAs. Do you remember Palm Pilots?
Exactly. Yes.
Like Palm Pilots, yeah. But yeah, this, I guess the one thing I'll say, since you watched the entire show, one of the best like couple arc for a couple ever in a show is in this show, and that's the Stevenses, Tracy and Gordo.
Tracy and Gordo.
One of the best, most tragic character arcs for a couple ever.
I was so sad, but it was
that season 2 finale is so nuts. It's so. And it was so sad, and so good though. It was very well done, and I really like where season 3 is going to with the sort of the race, and then I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with this, because there will be a season 4, and it's like, where do you go after Mars, and like what are they going to end this season with? Because that's what they always seem to do with this show, is they end the season with a sort of music montage thing. Like, I think last season it was Jimi Hendrix on Mars is what they did. And now what are they going to end this season with for the montage that kind of clues you into what next season will be?
They've signposted, like colonizing the moons of Jupiter and Saturn.
That's right. Yeah.
And I don't know that actor's name, but he's the Black Mormon from House. And in this, he's playing like a helium-3 pioneering executive who runs a communal corporation that's run like Valve, that's non-hierarchical, and everybody makes all the decisions together. And he's the one running the private, corporate entry into the space race. It's not just for the Soviet Union and the U.S. anymore. And where was I going with that? Oh yeah, because he's the one who brought up the going to Jupiter and Mars. But yeah, it's like, how sci-fi do you want this show to go? Because it's the hardest of hard sci-fi. It's real world, like physics. It's real world technology. They're just basically saying that because of the commitment to the space race, continuing, we got a lot of things faster. Like we have electric cars in the 90s. Isn't that exciting? Like that kind of thing. But I do love how they like what NASA is like in this world. It's like, it's not only like did the space race continue. It's astronauts are still cool. Like culturally, no one gives a shit if you're an astronaut these days. It's not the coolest profession anymore. It's an afterthought. Oh, you're just going up to the space station? Good for you. It's a lot cooler to think about fucking piloting a shuttle, to the moon, and back, or like to Mars, and just still being, like what an astronaut is, which is an explorer and not just a scientist that we poop out into low Earth orbit, every once in a while. And I just love the tendency across all the seasons for the astronauts to just die on their fucking shields in space. You know, it just keeps on like more astronauts die in this show than have died in that or ever will die in real life, because we're like in real life we're so risk averse as far as space exploration is concerned. And for the first season, that's what happens in the whole like pilot episode is Joel Kinnaman's character saying, "We're fucking pussies now. We suck. You know, that's why we lost." You know, and then having the whole effort be so committed to refuting that notion. And I'm so, because they're setting things up for Joel Kinnaman's, you know, character Ed to lead the private mission to Mars. And I just want him to die on Martian soil. That's all that I fucking want for his character. Because fuck Karen, fuck that stupid character. As soon as Gordo's son showed up working at their bar, I was like, she's gonna fuck that kid. She was raising that kid with her own son, and she's gonna fuck him. I just know it. And as soon as they did that, I lost like an inch of respect for the show at large. But I can just ignore that whole plot line, because now they're all gonna be racing each other to Mars, and it's gonna be cool and exciting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is definitely one. I'm sure we'll talk about it again in 6 or 7 weeks when it's done.
Yeah, because that's your question about like what are they going to be showing? Like I had like a Mars alternate history colonization concept that I was working on for a really long time, and my ending was having like a flash forward to them going to Jupiter and finding a mega construct inside of Jupiter, and it turning into a full-blown space opera in the last 5 seconds. Like that's what I would do if I had the power. But I don't know if this show would handle, you know that kind of cosmic bullshit very well. But reasonably, what can they do? I can't wait to find out. Definitely, if you want a reason to ditch Netflix and try something new, get Apple TV Plus. They're doing really well. They're a lot better than Netflix is as far as batting average is concerned. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Way better. And like a fourth of the price.
Yeah. With none of the effort. Like, looking back on the articles about how shoestring their operation is, like, everyone else is like, they're not doing like any of the things they're supposed to be doing. They're spending no money. We barely have anyone, working here to do anything. And I'm sitting here going, well, they're doing it right. Like Netflix is literally like culling their staff every 2 months or so just to be able to keep the lights on. And Apple's just like, we are barely trying and we will outlive you. And I just love their approach.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. And what else? See, the next show that we're going to talk about from Disney Plus, I was able to watch 5 minutes of it. What can you tell me about Miss Marvel, Matt?
Yeah, so there's 2 episodes out now, and I'm caught up. And I guess what I'll say about this show right now is I think it's probably my favorite of the Disney Plus Marvel shows. And the reason I say that is because it actually feels like it matters. Like, it feels like this show will tie into the larger picture eventually, but even now when it's not, it's its own thing, it's doing its own thing, and it's setting up its own little part of this universe. And all those other Marvel shows, they either feel like spin-offs to the bigger movies or like like the B plots to the bigger movies, stuff that you don't even need to watch, that's not necessary to watch. But this is like the first show, I guess other than Moon Knight, this is the only other show that's come out where this is the introduction of this character, and this is the only footage we have of this character right now. There is no Miss Marvel movie where all the good shit's happening. This is it.
This is the goods.
Yeah. And it's really cool how it's structured. It's basically like a high school dramedy, I guess. The closest thing I could compare it to would be like, you remember the movie Easy A with Emma Stone?
Yeah.
The Scarlet Letter movie? It's kind of like that. It feels like that. Or like, like a high school movie like that. And the main character is played by an actress who I think this is her first role. Her name's Aman Vellani, and she is really, really good. She's just like a natural. I can't believe this is her first role because she's really charming and she's really, really likable, and she's like quick-witted and smart and funny, but without being like annoying like Princess Leia in the Obi-Wan show, like without being like twee about it. And so yeah, I really, really, really like where the show's going so far, and I guess, that remains to be seen, because the thing with all these Marvel shows is that they tend to start really high, start really good, but then kind of get really, really bad as the show goes on, and then just devolve into nonsense. And so we'll see if that happens. But
yeah, so there actually is some intention behind it. They're actually trying to make it significant and and solid under its own feet. It's not standing on anyone's fucking shoulders.
Yeah, and there's no like big bad out there, like world-ending threat. Right now, the only thing that's even like a hint of an antagonist in the show is Stewie from Succession plays like the agent guy that he played in Spider-Man, I think that was.
Okay.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. I'm glad that they brought him back.
Yeah, he's in this too.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it really, really good so far, and I would say, definitely watch it, and especially if you've lost faith in these shows, because this is the one that'll hopefully bring it back a little bit. But.
And I do want to say the reason why I only have seen 5 minutes of this isn't because I didn't like I was already put off by it. It's because I brought a puppy into my life, and I live with a toddler. And as I was trying to watch it, catastrophe struck, and I just had to be like, okay, fuck this. Turn it off. We're doing this instead. I think I had to go for a walk or something. I'll give it a chance, because this is Macaulay Khan. Is that the character's name from the comics?
Kamala Khan.
Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
I'm gotta be sure I say Kamala right. But because of our vice president, they're very particular. Because that's a character I have no frame of reference for. What even is her superpower?
So it's sort of different in the show. That's kind of the one thing that's a little weird, a little off-putting, is in the show, it's kind of, her powers are more of like a vague, like Captain Marvel type power set that Brie Larson's character has in the Captain Marvel movies, where she kind of just like makes constructs out of her like hands. It's sort of like Green Lantern, I guess, is how I'd describe it. But in the comics, she's more of a like Mr. Fantastic type, where she can like grow her limbs, and the one thing she always does is she makes her fists really, really big, and then uses them as like giant, like basically like blunt instruments. And so that's kind of her power set in the comics. And in the show, I understand why they did it though, because they're obviously the ending of the show, there's no doubt they're already setting it up that it's going to be some sort of bridge show to Captain Marvel 2, whatever that movie is.
Because wasn't there going to be, because it's going to be called The Marvels.
Yeah, it's going to be called The Marvels. Yeah. So
Brie Larson's going to have a whole big gay family of Marvel a Marvel team. I don't know. It's not, because like what was Shazam's extended family called?
They're just, I mean, they all have their own individual names, like Mary Marvel and
but what's the family?
I don't know if there is one. Is there?
Because before the naming got ironed out, maybe there was, but that's besides the point. I was just noodling a little bit. I'll have to give this show a try though. I've never seen Captain Marvel. There's a whole like era of Marvel movies that I just haven't seen, deliberately, and I don't know if I ever will. But I just like
it's not very good. Captain Marvel is not, and I don't know. I mean, personally, I can only speak personally here. I mean, I don't think the movie is very good, but then on top of that, every time I see that movie, or the one time I've seen it, I kind of had to fight my urge to dislike it based solely off of Brie Larson, because I find Brie Larson absolutely insufferable as a person, and her character in the show Carol Danvers, that's her name. Her version of Carol Danvers is also insufferable because it's basically like a fictional version of Brie Larson's real personality. So.
Well, people, I guess, seem to like, her as a thirst trap, but I am not one of those people.
Yeah. No.
But we are going to talk about now the main event, and we didn't see anything because this is another slim week, but we did take some time to figure out what was our best of the year so far, our favorite things of the year so far. I might have made the title a little bit wrong. But our intention was to kind of whatever it was, whether it was a TV show, a movie, comic, podcast, whatever. If so far this year, what were the 5 things that either of us have enjoyed the most? And you were going to talk about this in the streaming section, but we're just...
real quick before you do that.
Okay.
Let me ask you, before we get into any of our picks, how did you approach this? I'm just curious as far as deciding what your total breakdown would be, whether you did 3 movies, 1 show, 1 video game, or 2 video games, 3 movies. How did you decide that? I'm just curious.
I took a look back on everything that I have consumed content-wise in the last 6 months, and I was just like, what am I still thinking about? What is something I'd actually want to return to? And frankly, there's a lot of video games I haven't been able to give a lot of time to. I haven't had a chance to read any new comics. I still am kind of playing with things in the past, so I kind of had to settle into what movies or shows do I find undeniable as far as things I'm going to come back to, things I'm going to recommend, to people throughout the year. And what do I expect to still see on my best of list, at the end of the year. And I guess that's kind of how I, broke it down. Those were the things I was thinking about.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I figured that because we are mostly a movie show that I had to put at least 2 movies on there.
Exactly.
But yeah, the weird thing is the thing I'll say before we get into the meat of it is at this point, 6 months into the year, my short list for movies that I'd feel comfortable putting on a top 10 or top whatever is not very big.
No, it is not. Yeah,
it's I think of the movies that I actually decided to put on this list, I think I had to whittle it down from a list of 4, and that was it. I was just there's only 4 movies that I really, really, really liked this year. And I think that's... it's kind of strange to think about, but I don't think it's necessarily odd because as far as movies go, every year it seems that the second half of the year is always jam-packed with stuff, and the first half's just kind of whatever, but that always seems to be the case because you have award season and you have the Christmas season and stuff like that, and so all the really good stuff typically is at the end of the year. But that's the one observation I took away from it.
It is a very light year. I think we're still, even for for any year, this would be wait, this is, as far as quality goes, this is the best we have. It's a little disconcerting, but they are just holding things back. They, as far as the release schedules for a lot of these things, they want a guaranteed win. And nobody wants to put their shit out in the doldrums unless you know that you could at least, with name recognition alone, win out. Or if you feel hey, we could stand out enough to ride to make our own wave and ride it. It's as far as movies go, it's hard. But TV's a total different beast these days. Streaming is where the bulk. It was harder to pick out shows for me than it was for movies as well. Because there's just so much effort being put into making long form streaming content, whether it be ongoing or limited. It's kind of neat, as someone who used to love reading Vertigo and Image comics. It kind of seems like that the wealth of stuff that's in movies are the Marvel and DC, the mainstream publishers, and then Yeah, then all the indie shit is on the streaming platforms.
Yeah, that's a really good analog. Yeah.
But you picked out. I'm just gonna like, I don't know, no particular order, I guess, unless did you have a particular order?
No, go ahead. Whatever you're want to do.
Yeah. Let's have you talk about Barry. The third season of Barry. Is it over now? Is it officially done?
It is. Yep.
Yeah. And
yes.
How did you feel? I haven't watched it, the third season.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, like you said, I originally was gonna just talk about this in the what we've been watching section, and once that final episode hit, I was just like, okay, this is it. This is top tier. This is going down to my list, and so this show is so interesting because I kind of said it before when the season first started, but Barry started as such a like strictly comedic show that had a premise that could have easily been like, this is kind of dumb. Like,
it's
an actor that's...
It was like a Showtime premise, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's like an actor that's also a hitman. Like, it's just kind of a stupid, almost like a sketch premise. Yeah. And what the show has become is so crazy. It's like, it's morphed from this sort of strictly comedic show to this pitch black, darkly comedic drama now. It's definitely more so a drama than it is a comedy now. And it's so dark, and it's also like half an action show, like action movie, and then it's also partly a commentary on like LA Hollywood culture, like celebrity culture, and like Hollywood like movie culture as far as like casting and the way that shows are run and stuff like that, because he works very closely in Hollywood. And the show has become a artistic vision of God, why am I blanking on his name? Fucking Bill Hader.
Bill Hader. Yeah.
Bill Hader. This has become like a singular vision of his. It's interesting to watch as his name appears more on the shows in the credits as writer, and then suddenly his name appears more as director. And then now what we're hearing is that the fourth season is going to be entirely directed by him. He's going to do every single episode, and it's so crazy how he has the chops. You know, his directing is so good, and you can tell that Bill Hader has like a wealth of knowledge about movies. Like, I was actually going back and watching and reading interviews of his earlier today when I was, thinking about this episode we were going to do, and he has all these things that he can pull from. Like that Bill Hader, like you can tell that he is like a movie historian, basically. Like he watches a lot of shit in his like downtime, in his spare time, and he can pull from all that to do episodes of the show, and makes all these references and allusions to other people's works. And
the Tarantino method of film school,
pretty much. It's really good. And yeah, this show is just great. It's so funny, and it's such a good commentary on Hollywood at the same time, and the acting performances are all really, really good. And the thing that they're doing now with with the second season and the third season, and I think it's going to be kind of a trend going forward, is they have one episode a season that is almost like the action set piece episode, kind of like Game of Thrones did with their 9th episode of every season. Yeah. And this season's was a like a dirt bike chase and a shootout that took place all over LA. And I think that was in the 6th episode of this season. Okay. And it was so like just incredibly well done. It was all shot on location. They actually went to all these different locations around LA and did like these shootouts, and they were actually like driving through like I think it's the I-5. I think that's the big interstate that goes right through LA. And it's all real. It all looks good. It all looks real. None of it's green screen. And it's great. Yeah. Great show. But
I need to catch up. I only made it like halfway through season 2, and then life got away from me. But Bill Hader becoming an auteur is probably one of the most like unexpected things that I could have ever imagined. But good for him, you know. Good for him. You know, I'm happy. And it's on my list. It's perpetually on my list until I cross it off. My pick, one of my first. Oh, did not mean to make it so big. Let me shrink that. But yeah, The Staircase. I did not like. This is one that might not make it, might not survive. But for right now, it's there because it is so much better than it has any right to be, which is just something that you voiced when you talked about it. You know, this is a drama based on a documentary, but it did a very effective job of actually giving us some real meat and potatoes to dig into as far as like what was going on when the cameras weren't rolling, when the cameras weren't even there yet. What's the story? And I love how it played with the ambiguity about what really happened. Throughout the show, there's like in different episodes they give you like they just stage every possible thing that could have happened to the to the dead wife in this story. You know, whether it was him killing her, it being just an accident with her tripping on the stairs, an owl attack, like whatever wild thing could have been the reason why she died, you know, is fully explored and portrayed. And you don't often see shows being willing in the true crime space to embrace ambiguity like that and to actually be artful about it. Because normally they pick sides, you know, they try to, you know, champion one view or the other, like as far as guilt or innocence is concerned. But in this one, anything could be true. And that's what is so fascinating about the story and why there's so many hours of content that have been derived from these real world events. Have you ever seen the film Reversal of Fortune?
No.
Are familiar with that? It's the film that Jeremy Irons won Best Actor for, playing Klaus von Bülow. And that is that's the only thing that I can think of to really compare it to, because that was like a true crime drama, you know, about a very high profile case where this rich socialite was found guilty of killing his wife with by putting her into diabetic shock and letting her die in a coma, and then he is exonerated in the real world. He was exonerated thanks to the efforts of the lawyer Dershowitz, who is, if you know him, that name, he was the lawyer of O.J. Simpson and Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. So like this, but even in that movie, which was made in the 90s by what is that filmmaker's name? I need to look it up now. Give me a second. Barbet Schroeder made that movie. And he very deliberately made it unclear whether he was guilty or innocent, you know, throughout the movie. So it's a spiritual successor in that sense. And so it has staying power, whereas it really shouldn't, because this is just popcorn for the true crime masses, but it exceeds those expectations and does a lot more with the material than most other productions would have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still haven't caught up fully with The Staircase, but the fact that they were able to do the whole owl thing without it being comedic, and without it being an absolute like shit show, it was such an achievement. Because once that owl thing started to pop up in the show, I was like, oh my god, are they actually going to try and do this and like show the owl attack? Yeah. And then once they did, I was like, fuck, this is not going to be good. But they actually pulled it off. And it's not like comedic, and you're not like, oh my god, this is so cheesy. It actually works.
Yeah, and I guess it's a testament to Toni Collette, the job she does, playing that character. Just really threw herself into it, was willing to have all sorts of fucked up things happen to her, and it almost would be Oscar worthy if this, was a movie. But I feel like they could have told this story as a film, and just like cut out some of the extraneous stuff. But they spend a lot of time exploring what's going on with the kids, who they are, who they wind up being. Yeah, because like who everybody is in the first episode and who they are in the last one, they are all just fucking hollowed out by the experience, and you can tell. So it works. Like comparing this to the Peacock, like the Carol Baskin, Joe Exotic show, like that's the two. They're polar opposites, and that like this there's one approach and then there's another, and I vastly prefer this one. I still need to see your next pick, but After Yang was that fucking good, huh?
Yeah, I thought so. I kept going back to this one when I was thinking about what I wanted to put on this list. Because I did want to have at least 2 movies, and I think this is the one. This is my second one, and this is the one that I think will probably still be on my list at the end of the year. Other than, well, the other one will probably be on there too, but this is Kogonada, his second film, and it's just, he has a way of portraying melancholy that is so, it's so great. And I don't know if I've ever said this, but Kogonada was an architect before he was a director. And the way that he like assembles scenes and like the sets for his movies is just, you can tell it's very meticulous. And it's very, very like almost down to like a science. It looks almost like the scenes are put together by like an algorithm or something like that. And in this one, for people who missed the other episode we did about this is about Colin Farrell and his family have a robot brother for his actual daughter, who's supposed to be there to basically give her company and then give her sort of like experience with her culture, because his daughter is Chinese and he's white and then his wife is black. And so the robot's there to kind of like give her a window into her Chinese culture. And what happens is the robot breaks down and essentially dies basically, and while Colin Farrell's trying to get him fixed, he finds all these things out about the robot's life that he wasn't privy to, things that the robot did, and how the robot kind of had his own life separate from the family. And really, really good. Really, really one of Colin Farrell's best performances. I like that he's not going really broad with this performance. It's very, very muted. It's very, very quiet. He literally plays like the proprietor of like a tea store, like a futuristic store that sells tea leaves to people. And in the middle of the movie, probably one of the best scenes in the movie, Colin Farrell has this conversation with the robot about the beauty of tea leaves, and the robot like can't understand like why humans would think that this is beautiful. And it's a really good scene, because you can tell that he's getting very frustrated with the robot. And but yeah, really, really great. Really like it. You can watch it now on I think this was originally only on Showtime, but I believe it's on Hulu now. So yeah, go watch it.
Okay, I know what I'm doing tonight. After I go to the Midsummer Festival at the Scandinavian Culture Park tonight in Minot. But
have fun murdering all those people.
Exactly. Yeah. We already have picked out the man for the bear suit. But this movie very much is part of that soft sci-fi renaissance that we were referring to. Along with Duel and I guess. Yeah, I don't know. There's some other movies I would put in there that are escaping me right now. I would even say that We're All Going to the World's Fair belongs in there to a degree. But yeah, I need to see this. Straight up, need to see this. The next one is something we both picked, which is another movie from our boy Mr. Robert Eggers, the fucking Northman, which for me, until something else comes along, this is like my movie of the year. I'll say that now. It's gonna be up to somebody else to make something better than this.
Yeah, this I think, thinking back on it now that we've had the benefit of having 2 months since this movie came out, we're gonna look back on this movie as Robert Eggers' like failed masterpiece, basically. Yeah. Failed big budget masterpiece.
Unfortunately, but it's true.
Yeah. It's gonna be his one big budget movie he's ever gonna do. But it's a great one. It's we're better for it, I think. I mean, maybe he would have gone on to do like shitty studio pictures if it would have been a success, but I think that it's better that we have this movie in our lives and that we were able to experience at least this one before.
Yeah.
It probably never happens again. And yeah, really, really, I don't know what else we can say about this. Is there anything else you wanted to say?
Yeah, because we have a whole episode that you can go back and look at. The censors have not taken that one down. They appreciated our promotion, unlike that random ass Russian financing company. But yeah, this movie really, it tanked officially. Like, did it even get close to 90 million globally? Mm-hmm. It did, or it didn't?
No. No. I want to say it like topped out at like 60. I want to say.
Yikes! But that's the thing. If COVID hadn't happened, that's what its budget was pre-COVID. It was around 60 million. Mm-hmm. It's only because COVID happened, production got more expensive, and the studio's demands in editing and post-production were such that it ballooned the cost. And that's not his fault. Like, if anything, that's New Regency being a cunt, I almost wonder if this movie would have succeeded more if it had been unadulterated. If it had just been pure Eggers Viking movie where the audience is just fucking left in the dark, But it probably wouldn't have. It probably would have only made 30 million then. But yeah, I'm almost reassured that it kind of failed a little bit, because now maybe studios will approach him differently, but because there's people will still want to fucking work with this guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
He may not make you a.
This is not tarnished his name in the slightest.
In the slightest
at all.
Yeah, because I almost don't even. You can't even hold box office success against a movie these days. Because the life that this movie will have on streaming it's a whole other life. The theatrical run of a movie is almost ancillary and in some ways unnecessary, which is why they don't Doctor Strange only had 45 days in a theater before it got dumped onto streaming. So I really look forward to seeing what he does next, and hopefully he is allowed to be exactly who he is and not conform to anyone else's standards. Because I want to be left in the dust. I want to be left asking questions about what the fuck I'm even seeing. Sometimes having everything shoved down my throat doesn't always work for me. Mm-hmm. But
I think I guess this is probably a good time to bring this up, because I don't think we ever got a chance to talk about it when we were supposed to talk about it in a previous episode. But there was, at the Cannes Film Festival this year, an interview that went viral with James Gray.
I forgot about that.
And I want to bring that up now because it's kind of what we're talking about, where he basically says that I would encourage anyone to go look it up right now. It's on YouTube. Just search Cannes James Gray interview. And he talks about how studios need to get back into a mindset where they're treating movies more as art rather than like commodities. And there needs to be the intention that you're going to pour all this money into a movie, and the reception, the good reception, the lasting cultural impact of that movie will be good enough. It might make money, but the fact that a piece of art was made and you put it out into the world should be enough.
Yeah.
Because it's enough, it's enough for painters, it's enough for sculptors to do that, to put a bunch of money and a bunch of time into something and make something, and they put it out into the world, and it's, valued for years to come. And why is it that movies cannot be made as a piece of art anymore?
Yeah.
And it's very, very good, and that's how they should look at this movie. It should be looked at. I mean, yes, you should make some movies in order to make money, in order to turn a profit. Otherwise, you're gonna die. Your film studio is gonna die. But there should be these movies where the expectation should be that you're gonna lose money.
Yeah, and it used to be studios would be like, okay, here's the one that'll make the money. Here's the passion project. It's like you even it out, and it's at the discretion, of the executives at the studios to make that happen. But yeah, I don't know, there's actually a video I plan on making, like as like a mini episode, kind of exploring this a little further, just like the state of cinema as art, and even like television as an art form. In the age of streaming, just like unfortunately, streaming is kind of degrading the ability for any art to just be made for its own sake, and to actually touch people in a significant way. Because as soon as it's just a part of the stack of thumbnails on a website, it's dead. Unfortunately, it's like it loses all of its power. Instead of being a singular moment that you are captured in and get to enjoy, it's just the thing that's on your screen right now, soon to be replaced by the next thing on your screen. But that's a larger thing. One movie that has proven to be a financial success, despite its weirdness, is my next entry, and that's Everything Everywhere All at Once. I wasn't as enthusiastic about this as some of the Asian critics who were just gobsmacked by it. But as far as this year is concerned, it stands out, for a variety of reasons. Refer to our episode discussing it to get into all the different fucking things happening that are to be appreciated. But yeah, I still think about this movie on occasion. I was blown away by all the creativity behind it. The internet, like I wanted to bring this up, on a different show, but somebody on the internet did the freeze frame for all of the, because there's lots of like sequences in this movie where they just like flash very quickly through all the possible worlds that are existing across the universe, and they frame by frame broke them all down so you could appreciate them, because so many of them are just blink and you miss it. They literally are just there for like not even a second, to be viewed. Then there's one that just like, it tickled me pink when I realized that, because I missed it in the theater. But there's a part where it's a Zoom call of the directors of the special effects team working on a special effects shot, talking about like, oh hey, we're gonna do this thing here, yada yada yada, and then they just blow right past it and keep on going. Did you catch that? When you saw this in the theater? That's what I mean. Like these guys, the Daniels, worked so fucking hard to just make something so pure and unique, and I think that's like, yeah, this movie wasn't made thinking it was going to make $1 gajillion, but it made enough money to make an impact, and it had enough of a, like in the year of the multiverse, I prefer this over whatever they're going to be doing over in Marvel. And I'll be thinking about this movie a lot longer than I'll be thinking about Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. And yeah, it's crazy that this is still like picking up millions of dollars a day, especially now, because like as of 2 weeks ago, it was put on like digital rental. So you can rent it at home now, but people are choosing to see it in theaters. So that's pretty crazy.
It is. It's very unexpected. And and circling back to what James Gray was trying to say, it's like that's exactly like they probably had the like A24, for all of their faults, kind of has that attitude. They're like, hey, we'll make this one. Maybe it'll be successful. Who knows? That's fucking weird. Let's just put it out there. You know, like they have, I guess, the faith in their curation choices to know that they'll get theirs one way or another, and they're willing to support whatever the fuck it is. You know, sometimes you get men, sometimes you get everything everywhere all at once. Your next pick is a comic, two comics from the same creative team, all around the character of Daredevil, who apparently is a woman now.
Yeah, this is Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run, and he's actually been on the book since 2016, the mainline Daredevil book. But this year, what that has comprised is a miniseries called Daredevil Woman Without Fear, in which Elektra takes over the mantle of Daredevil.
Nice.
And then, it's pretty cool.
I could at least believe her being able to do it. You know, I don't buy Jane Thor. Never have. Don't buy it.
And then the follow-up to that was a sort of event book called Devil's Reign, in which Matt Murdock comes back, and the two Daredevils basically team up to take down Kingpin. And there's not too much I can say about a comic without actually like having the like panels to show you. But I'll say like Chip Zdarsky has such a good writing style where he's funny and smart, but without being like annoying about it, I guess is what I would say. Or like there's a very, very easy way where Chip Zdarsky's humor style could come off as like Borderlands humor, like the game Borderlands,
exactly,
where it's just like terrible, like cringy, like dick and fart jokes and really, really dumb like social media like meme humor, and that's kind of Chip Zdarsky's comedy style, but it's actually like really smart, and like he does a lot of really, really good like pop culture polls, and he's so good at like making something seem big and impactful, but not turning it into like the next huge event, like this is going to be Secret Wars, or this is going to be like right now there's this absolutely terrible X-Men event going on by Jonathan Hickman with Marvel.
Called, Jonathan.
It's fucking terrible.
Why is he still slumming it? Why, like, this guy could just work for Image and just do his own fucking thing. I don't.
He totally could, but for some reason, I don't know. He's obsessed with X-Men because he went from having like 2 X-Men books to I think there's like 5 now.
That's
5.
That's gross. Like not even Jeff Johns at the height of his awful powers was like dipping his fingers into that many books at the same time.
Yeah, it's so, and his stuff is I don't know. I get this is a little bit of a digression, but it's very like unintelligible to me as somebody who's not like that knowledgeable about the X-Men. Like I read one of his issues and I'm just like I have no idea what just happened, and this is the opposite because. Tying it back to the actual topic at hand, I don't read a lot of Marvel, but I do read this book, and I have since 2016, and I do because I can understand what is happening in it because it's all very self-contained. You know what's going on. You know this version of the character. It's not relying on constantly on like polls from like other eras of comics or like other stuff that's going on in like the like Ghost Rider book or stuff that's going on in the Jessica Jones book. It's not like constantly pulling shit from other books. And it's all very self-contained. And to me, this book, while I'm reading it, there's certain comics that you read, and while you're reading them, you get the sense of this is going to be one of those books that is going to be remembered in like 20 years. Like the constantly reprinted trade paperbacks of stuff, like this is going to be up, in the big leagues in 20 years, on the shelves of Barnes and Noble as an omnibus.
Yeah, exactly. This will have an absolute edition, someday. Yeah. And I think it's so funny because it's like whether it's comics or it's, TV or even, movies, the Marvel method fails the more that they rely, and I guess comic book storytelling, like sometimes you can pull it off if it's just Grant Morrison type, like canon and lore pulls, to in lieu of just they make it grandiose because it's referencing so much. It's like we're appreciating the history is on the page, It's like making it stand under actually building ground underneath your book, your story, whatever it is, and it actually enables it to rise up and last instead of it's just a human pyramid by the time you're all done. Otherwise, so good job for them. And
it's really good. Yeah. And I will say, I guess to close it off, there's the really, really nice thing about this is there is an endpoint. There is a planned endpoint for this. He's going to do one more series this summer, and then it's done. The book is done. Chip Zdarsky's done with the character, and that's it. And that'll be it. And so I'm so glad for that. I hate ongoing stuff that just never ends. And so
because there's inevitably a point in a book like that where, because of something going on in the larger universe, that whatever vibe or tone a book had with the creator just kind of gets upset without any control on their part. Things get out of joint. If you're just binge reading something, no matter what era it is, there'll just be a moment of disconnection from one story arc to another, quite often, where the carryover isn't quite coherent. But, I'm always reassured and impressed that sometimes people are able to work within the comics industry for the big two and get away with siloing themselves, as opposed to, being forced by an editor to just be part of the mush, of the whole publication as it goes.
Yeah, the constant crossovers, and that it's always nice when a character or a creator, I should say, gets to the point where they are the ones who come in with the pitches, and the comic book companies have to bend to their will rather than the other way around. Because I think he's at that point. Chip Zdarsky's at that point now where he can walk into DC or Marvel and pitch anything, and they'll be like, yes, because they know it'll sell at least 100,000 copies.
Is this kind of like Brian K. Vaughan's was it Starman that I'm thinking of?
Starman. Are you thinking of?
Not Starman. What's that fucking called? Because he this is gonna fucking bug me.
Ex Machina?
Not Ex Machina. It was before Ex Machina. It was with that artist. Okay. The same artist on Ex Machina and Brian K. Vaughan. It's fucking pissing me off. Let me see.
Yeah, go ahead and look it up. But yes, I would say it's probably similar, where I'm sure that Brian K. Vaughan can do whatever he wants to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and this was one of the books that made people, that made DC and Marvel both go, okay, yeah, fucker, do whatever the fuck you want. Yeah, it was Starman. Because, it's talking about a book that has an omnibus and is, well regarded 20 years after the fact. That's exactly what I think of. It was that. That's what popped into my head. Because, so Chip Zdarsky can do whatever the fuck he wants to. More power to him. My next pick is a podcast, and while it has existed in some forms, it really, took off, at least for me, is over the 2022, the last 6 months, and that's Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. The Matt is Matt McCusker, and the Shane is Shane Gillis. Have you heard of the saga of Shane Gillis in Saturday Night Live?
The name sounds familiar, but no, you'll have to tell me.
Yeah, he's a stand-up comedian. He's in the New York scene. He's one of the edgelords of the New York scene, along with the Legion of Skanks and that whole group. But he's very much just a dog. That's what the fans are called. They're called dogs, and they're just kind of they're chauvinists. I'll just say that. And he said some very edgy things on a podcast once and then auditioned for SNL, killed it, and got selected for the cast. And as soon as he was announced, the fucking culture warriors pounced, and they got him fired from SNL before he had even shown up for work. He had done nothing. He got announced and then fired and called a racist and all kinds of things. I forget what he was guilty of, but it's benign. It's the kind of thing that reactionaries are upset by. And if you can't handle that kind of thing, then yeah, maybe this guy shouldn't be on Saturday Night Live, because he does not fit with that set whatsoever. Like he would have been, he's really funny as a stand-up guy. He kills it, and he would have done really well on SNL if they would have allowed him to. It's not that he's like a wacko conservative. It's not even like he actually holds objectionable views. He just doesn't adhere to the political correctness of today. So, as in the fallout of that, he and his buddy Matt McCusker started Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast, so that nobody would, like, it's a joke. It's like, it's not secret. People know about them. They have fans, and they're on YouTube. I think you can, listen to it on other platforms. But it's just one of those, it's refreshing because it's genuinely funny. Their stories are actually like memorable, and it's not just two people shooting the shit and it's just inside jokes. It's just funny to them. It's genuinely funny. They had an ongoing series with Larry C.K. where they just talked about their favorite presidents, okay. So that they work with other canceled people, but okay. Even though they're not canceled whatsoever. Shane,
I'm sure everyone's forgotten about it by now. Like that's the nature of these things is, once the person is like fired and these like culture warriors get what they want, they just forget about it. So I'm sure that nobody cares anymore.
Yeah, and they're just a bunch of just dudes being guys, and as far as parasocial relationships goes, like these guys have kind of become one of my new ones. The president's stuff with Louis C.K. especially is really fucking good. Like that was the highlight from the last year. And then the ongoing, they had like a basketball like stream where they played like pickup basketball against like other podcasters, and it like that whole saga is pretty fucking hilarious. So yeah, a lot of good. Like there's nothing like deeply profound or deeply interesting about them. But as far as comedy, podcasts go, these guys are just the latest one, for me, because Tim Dillon has decided that he doesn't want to work anymore. That guy has like the most like successful Patreon for stand-up comedians, and he can barely release an episode. So the pig is dead to me, and I'm one of the dogs now.
So is this their podcast? Is it more of like? It's kind of like two guys telling stories, or is it more like it's not like sketch based? It's not sketch based. There's no narrative. It's just two guys talking and telling jokes basically. Yeah, just dudes ripping with each other. It has a lot in common with Cumtown in that respect. Even though Cumtown is a lot about bits, but with Matt and Shane, it's mostly, yo dog, this is my experience at the bar this weekend. So in a way, it's kind of like Call Her Daddy, but for dudes, but less concerned ultimately with sex and being a whore. It's more so listen to how I embarrassed myself this weekend while I was drunk, or how I fucked up with this girl, or let me tell you the story about how my girlfriend keeps getting harassed on the bus because she's got a big butt, like that kind of thing, like the black guys on the bus were catcalling me, Shane. Well, you probably deserved it. You got a big butt, I can't be upset, like that kind of thing. Like they're just guys being dudes. And I guess the final one for both of us here is the movie of the year, the show of the year, not movie, the series of the year, the pinnacle of the soft sci-fi renaissance. It's Severance.
Apple TV Plus's other, crown jewel. We have a whole episode devoted to multiple episodes devoted to why we love this show so much. So I'm not gonna waste too much time. I just can't wait for season 2. Like from the moment the last episode ended, I am ready. I need it even more than Yellow Jackets. Yeah, it's like For All Mankind might be the only other show to like make me crave more when it's all said and done. But Severance is the king. It's the daddy of the year as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I love Yellow Jackets too, but this show to me, the only show that can stand toe to toe with it, and that might give it a run for its money for this year if it comes back, but I don't think it's going to come back this year, is Succession.
Yeah.
Like, so that's like the only thing that I would put on par with this show that's currently on TV. And yeah, I mean, like you said, we devoted a ton of time talking about this, but I guess the one thing I will say now, that we have had some hindsight with the show, that I'm just so like grateful for this show not putting everything in your face. Like, I love that there's all these details about the world that you can pick up on if you look close enough or you pay close enough attention. But the only thing that's really like, front and center in the show is the A plot, the, what's going on with these people in their workplace and their home life. But because you'd be surprised, after this show got done and it got a little bit of notoriety, the amount of people that I talk to that just fundamentally don't understand some of the shit that's going on. Like, I've talked to so many people who still have no idea what the like whole thing with the congressman was about.
Oh yeah,
like because they're so dumb. Like, so many people just didn't pick up on that, and I'm like, are you fucking serious?
Were you paying attention? Like,
yeah, it's like, were you looking at your phone the entire time you were watching the show? Because I mean, it's obvious what's going on with him, and him doing the procedure on his wife while she was giving birth and stuff like that. But there's so many people that didn't pick up on that, and it's very surprising. And I'm just grateful for a show that can do that, where it doesn't force feed you everything.
Yeah, it truly respects the audience to actually be able to follow along, and glean what they have put up there to be gleaned, when it's there, as opposed to like, I don't know, like For All Mankind will just have a montage from one episode to another to like advance time really quickly and let you know like that, like, oh, this is how the world's changing. They're just like slamming your face with it. This is the exact opposite. It's just like, there might be something in there. Are you looking? No, I'm not going to actually point at it, but it's there. And it holds up, and it's really disappointing that you've run into so many people who walked out of the room. Like, I know we shared this movie with, not this movie, we shared this show with Angie's brother, and his wife, and they like, and he had the same reaction I did. He was just like, but he added the caveat, like, he didn't really know what was happening sometimes, but he really fucking was into it and really wanted to get the next season as soon as he could. But yeah, like I tried to convince my parents to watch this show too, and I don't know if they would have been able to handle it. But
yeah, my mom would not be able to keep up with it, I don't think. But
my parents are boomers. They could handle For All Mankind. It's made for them.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna cycle quick here. Like, those were my picks. Yo, Northman, Severance, The Staircase, and Matt and Shane's Secret Podcast. And Matt picked After Yang, The Northman, Severance, Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, Devil's Reign, and then Bear. And it's been a pretty solid year, even though it's been a little light, like we mentioned earlier. The good is good, and then there's just a surprising amount of mediocre, or just flat out, there's just not a lot out there. Honestly, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, before we close out the topic, let me ask you this. Now that we are at the midpoint in the year and we've gotten the benefit of having a couple trailers for stuff that's coming out in the second half of the year, give me like one movie that you've seen the trailer for recently that you're like, okay, like this is the one that I'm excited for.
God, that's a really tough question for me because unfortunately, I haven't watched a lot of trailers recently.
I would say
I'm just trying to. I'm racking my brain here.
Yeah, go ahead and think about it. But I would say like the one that I've seen the trailer now a couple times. When I saw it before Crimes of the Future, and then I for something else too. But I'm really really looking forward to Don't Worry, Darling, the Olivia Wilde movie.
Yeah.
That looks awesome, and that has a really really good trailer where it's kind of that like Stepford Wives sort of 1950s aesthetic, and I think like I said earlier in the year, I think this movie's going to be the movie that really tells us whether or not Olivia Wilde is like
the real
truly
deal.
Good, the real deal. Because Booksmart was fine, but it was a little like slight, I guess, and just kind of very by the numbers. But yeah, this will be the one, I think.
I just typed in 2022 movie trailers on YouTube, and I'm just scrolling down, and I'm not seeing I haven't even heard of half of these. You know what I mean? But yeah,
that's okay. If you can't think of anything, you'll have to.
I'll come back. It'll be like a bonus question for me over the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't. I'm not gonna say Terror on the Prairie. That's for sure. But this is how I found out that they're making a new Matilda movie. Did you know about that?
Oh, the musical? Is that?
Oh, is that? Yeah, it is. It is a musical.
Yeah, musical. Yeah.
Oh my God, starring Emma Thompson. Wow, good for them. But I just don't know. But Don't Worry, Darling is like the only movie on the horizon that isn't a part of the summer movie challenge that I've actually seen a trailer for. I can remember. I'll have to come back to it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, coming out next week is... Hang on, I gotta get rid of this guy.
Yeah, well, the first one is The Black Phone.
Yes, which, was in the running to be a topic, but I think we're gonna go with Elvis. For the pageantry. For the beauty of the cinema, and Tom Hanks in a fat suit and a sexy little boy toy in front of Baz Luhrmann's gooey camera, and it's probably going to be a good time. But who knows? It could be an utter turd. Just because it's Baz Luhrmann, he's hit or miss. But I will pay money to see it in a theater to let you know if you should too. What the fuck is Flux Gourmet?
Yeah, so this is the new Peter Strickland movie, who he's a British director. He does a lot of very, very small stuff. His most famous movie is probably In Fabric. Do you remember that movie from a couple years ago? It's about it's a horror movie about a killer piece of cloth.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's weird. It's set in a high-end fashion store, like a high-end department store, and there's a killer piece of fabric, and he has some pretty wild ideas. This one, from what I understand, this one is about a dueling factions within
he did Barbarian Sound Studio. I have seen that.
Okay, yeah. This one's about dueling factions within a culinary school or something like that.
Bizarre. It looks the trailer looks really bizarre. I would share it, but I don't know what the fuck the production company behind it would do to us if we did. But looks interesting. It looks like the costumes look very bizarre. Very bizarre. And then we also got Marcel, the show with shoes on, which is the most twee fucking thing ever. That critics just can't. They're jizzing their pants over Marcel, the show with shoes on, based on the trailer for that I saw.
And this is, I think, A24's first foray in children's films, I believe.
This is supposed to be for kids? This is made for kids who are 30. Like...
Yeah, it totally is. It's so... Yeah, it's just... I mean, I haven't looked into, like, the YouTube show about it, but it... Yeah, I don't know. It reminds me of, like... something that would have been made in like the late 90s, I guess, sort of,
or or the early 2010s. It's very specific. It's one or the other, you know. And
it's like, do you remember like Indian in the Cupboard?
Absolutely, yes, I do.
Like something like that, or The Borrowers. Do you remember the movie The Borrowers?
Yes, I do.
Movie?
I do very well. Yeah, because you just have this little shell with shoes, walking around talking like this. This is my life. This is what I do, and it's like, oh, it's supposed to be so profound, you know. I don't think Miranda July is involved in this, but it seems like she is. God, she had a fucking weird movie. I think it was called The Future, where like there was this little cat named Papa, and she did a voice similar to that, and that's all I can think of when I think of Marcel the Shell with shoes on. But I know she isn't involved, but it feels like she is. It feels like she should be. We also have the Umbrella Academy Season 3, which is noteworthy to me because now we have Elliot Rogers. Not Rogers.
No, Paige.
Paige.
Elliot Rogers is the shooter.
Well, it's funny that I conflated the two of them together because Elliot Page should play Elliot Rogers in a biopic. I want to make that movie. I think that would be pretty boss. But is there actually like comics for the Umbrella Academy for them to draw from for the third season?
Yes. Yeah, but from what I understand, I've read all of them, and what they're covering in this season is basically where the comics run out.
Oh.
So very, very curious to see if they're gonna renew it for any more. But it's very interesting because they are pulling from the final trade paperback of the comic. But I'm very curious to see how they incorporate the transition of Elliot Page into the show, because I mean, obviously that's not something that happens in the comics. So
has Netflix done the thing where they've changed, like they've digitally like gone in and changed the credits so that it's reflected as Elliot Page now in like the first two seasons?
I don't think so. I think from what I remember, I think it's individual by individual, but I think Elliot Page's view on the matter is that at the time they were a different person.
Okay.
So they're just leaving it as the other name. So.
I respect that. Like, what I don't respect is people going back and just like taking an eraser to art as it already exists. It's like, stop trying so fucking hard, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I haven't read the comics at all. I've seen the first two seasons of it, but I haven't seen any trailers for the third season. Like where is it going to be going? What seeds have they planted?
If they follow the comic closely, what this arc of the comics is about is the guy, I can't remember his name, but the headmaster of their little school thing.
Yeah.
He basically created a hotel in an alternate dimension where he threw all of their bad guys, and that's where he keeps them. That's basically like their jail, is like this dimensional hotel. And the Umbrella Academy, all the kids, they find out about it. And it actually turns out that it's like really fucked up because the hotel's like really dilapidated, and and all of the villains that are trapped there are like really fucked up now. And so that's theoretically what this season will be about.
Interesting. Yeah, because I enjoyed the Dallas season. That was fun. Even though the song choices kind of pissed me off. They pulled disco into an era it didn't exist in. But that's besides the point. That's irrelevant. But that does kind of cover the show. I forgot to make a graphic for the part in question for this week. But yeah, like run it by us.
Yeah, so this one, I was kind of thinking about emotional responses to movies, and the one that I came up with was, has a film ever moved you for any reason other than being sad? And the example I gave is like a film that is so like masterful and so like well done that it inspires her emotional response, you know, like almost like a welling up or like a tightness in your chest or even like tears or something like that.
Oh my God. So many movies do that to me. I'm in trouble, man. I don't even know what even like nostalgia, I guess, could fall under that. But yeah, I have a very specific. The reason why I thought of this one is because it kind of happened to me this week where I was watching something and I was like, oh, what is this tightness I'm feeling? Like, oh my God, like this is profundity. Really, what's going on?
Yeah, this is very profound. This is very moving, and so yeah, that's kind of where I thought the thought was coming from. So
I got you. Be it. Yeah, because like we can't say Dear Zachary because that's clearly about being sad. You know, but there's been plenty of a movie that, you know, I know exactly the feeling you're talking about. And it'll be interesting for me to whittle it down because I have so many choices. Angie could tell you, I cry at everything. You know? Like, you know, no matter, like, it doesn't matter what it is. Like, I cried fucking watching Muppet Christmas Carol because, the Muppet Frog playing Tiny Tim was dead. You know, like that's the kind of softy I am. So it's going to take me some time to isolate exactly which one I'm going to pick.
Yeah.
But that does it for the show. This was a barn burner. We went way longer than we typically do. Yeah. But thank you for being here, Matt. Thank you for watching. If you're out there, hopefully we don't get canceled. We used no footage for anything. So we better not get fucking any strikes this next week. And you might see, if you're subscribed, you might see in your notifications that Crimes of the Future has been re-uploaded within the next few days. So if you missed out on that, now's your chance to hop on board. But thank you for watching, and have a good week.
See ya.